Please take a seat. Good morning. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to join this session, the first one of the day, and obviously to have the possibility of what I hope will be a candid conversation with Secretary General of the Organization of American States, Mr. Albert Ramdin. So thank you for being here, Albert. And we would like to hear your ideas on the promotion and defense of democracy in this hemisphere at a time of, I would say, to say the least, great geopolitical uncertainty and concern, especially regarding the potential next moves of the United States to combat narco-terrorism or narco-trafficking, and eventually that could end or result in regime change in Venezuela. Who knows? This tremendously military buildup in the Caribbean is happening while there is an increased division and polarization in our region in terms of ideological terms. And Latin America right now as a whole faces pressing challenges. We have to tackle urgent issues as poverty, such as poverty, crime, migration, slow growth, limited economic integration. However, we also offer great potential and great opportunities due to our immense wealth in human talent, natural resources, biodiversity. So, what can the Organization of American States do to regain its relevance in times of serious setbacks in democratic and institutional matters? How the upcoming presidential elections in several Latin American countries can change the balance of power, not only in the region, but in your organization and in its effectiveness, to reach results? And how can we all promote the prosperity of a region that has lost a little bit momentum in economic growth? So to start this conversation, Mr. Secretary General, I would like to ask you, you have been in office for a few months, 5 months, I think. How has it been so far?
Busy. Good morning to all, and thank you very much to the organizers to invite the Organization of American States to be present here. I'll explain why it is important for me to be here, because this is part of our policy, of the new direction we're going into. Because you have a role to play in all what Patricia has mentioned just now as a challenge, but also as an opportunity. How it has been the past 5 months. As a person, I'm very active, so I don't wait and see until problems arise. We want to be proactive. So it has been busy. We had several issues in our hemisphere, and they continue. So I think there's a lot of good work to be done, not only in terms of what we experience globally, but what we can build in our own hemisphere. I see a great potential and a great future for the Americas, without any doubt. But we need to talk about it. And we need to see how we can facilitate that progress as best as possible. So I'm optimistic, despite all the problems. I'm realistic. But we will need to do some hard work to get there where we want to be.
And how would you define or characterize the current political landscape in the Americas?
Well, we have, and I said this publicly a couple of times already, we have a very polarized hemisphere. That means division, very negative approaches between leaders and societies. That's regrettable. And the reason I'm saying regrettable is because we are part, and that's never going to be changed, because that's an absolute given. We are part of the same geography, of the same hemisphere. We can leave the OAS, like one country did, but you never leave the hemisphere. And the reason why it's so important is because if we want to build a new hemisphere, a hemisphere where there is prosperity and where there is peace, and we maintain that level of peace, then we must make sure that all countries are involved in this process. This is where the OAS comes in place. The OAS is the only multilateral organization in the hemisphere which can bring together 34 countries around one table. We don't agree on everything. There is always differences. We are a very diverse hemisphere for a reason, for a historical reason. But it doesn't mean that we cannot meet and seek to find a common way forward. In my view, this hemisphere has been characterized by too much negativity, too much fights, unnecessarily, in my view, sometimes I dare to say childish, but that's the reality. And we need to make sure that we focus on a common agenda, a shared agenda, where the impact will be on the people of the Americas, on peace and prosperity. That's why leaders got elected, not to fight among themselves, but to work together for the better good. This is how I look at it, and this is what I say. So there is a new direction coming up in the Americas, and you have a role to play as the private sector. And if you give me 1 minute to explain why I find it important to be here, we have engaged in the meantime with several private sector organizations. I thank the organizers for putting these things together, because we need, if we want to achieve that level of peace and prosperity in the hemisphere, we need the governments, the private sector, the civil society to work together. There is no other option. And it's not philanthropy. It's not corporate social responsibility when it comes to the private sector. See it as an investment in democracy, in human rights, in rule of law, in independent judiciary, because you benefit from it. So it's an investment. It's not a bottom line expense. It is something which needs to be done. You have a responsibility to create that environment. With that, everything else will fall in place. And I speak and I work with the private sector, coming myself from the private sector as well. I work with them to create that environment. It's not going to be easy, but we must start. The private sector has a role to play in the prosperity in the Americas and for stability. And we can talk another occasion about the details, but your role is critically important to create jobs, steady income, a safe environment, and invest in democracy and good governance. It's not only the role of governments to do that. This is how I look at the hemisphere.
Let's go back to the political issues. Mr. Secretary, to set the record straight, what is the value of the organization in times where people think that the OEA, I've said it so many times in Spanish, the OEA has become an irrelevant institution. Very recently, the Undersecretary, the Deputy Secretary of State, Christopher Landau, criticizing the role of the OEA for not taking action to, after the fraud in the presidential elections in Venezuela, asked this question to the General Assembly. What is the point of this organization?
I think what Chris Landau said in Antigua and Barbuda is a legitimate question. It's a relevant question. Every country that pays into the OES wants to see the value. That's a legitimate question. I have no difficulty with that. And I see it also, the countries are investing. They want to see what is the return on investment in terms of strengthening democracy, human rights, good governance, independent judiciary, development, security, and so on. The problem has been for the past decades that the OAS, the Organization of American States, have not told the story, because the OAS does a lot of good things. More than 350 election observations held in the past year. The stability you have in certain countries would not have been possible if the OAS did not contribute to that situation. You benefit from that. It is almost natural that you accept that, but it's not so easy. We are observing elections just now in Honduras this week. We have done in Ecuador. We have done in Bolivia. We're continuing in the Caribbean. 350 of those create, just one example. In the area of security, the amount of people trained to provide security and all of that, I can't continue like that. We have not told the story about the OES. So my job is now to make sure that the OES comes closer to the countries, come closer to parliaments, come closer to the governments and to the people, so that everybody understands the value of the Organization of American States. On top of that, we are modernizing the OAS to make it more transparent, effective, higher delivery capacity, and so on. For that, we have internal reform processes already going on.
Is the U.S. staying?
The U.S., I'm happy you're raising this.
They pay half of your budget.
Yes, they are responsible for half of the budget. I can tell you, they have already paid a substantive amount of their arrears in the OAS in October. There is a promise made to me that before the end of the year, they will pay the rest. So yes, the OAS, the United States is paying. Second fact for the the relationship between the United States and the OAS, they appointed Leandro Resuto as the permanent representative to the OAS. They would not do that if they did not trust the OAS. I understand the skepticism sometimes about multilateralism. Also that, we have made good inroads with the US administration. And as we speak, we are discussing all these problems. So they see the value of the OAS. Haiti, issues on Venezuela, issues with regard to elections. Tomorrow there is a special meeting called by the United States. If the United States did not believe in a multilateral environment, then they would not use that opportunity. They have called for a meeting to talk about the developments in Honduras. Elections are there in a week time. So yes, we have great relations with the United States, and I think we'll see them making good use of this multilateral framework. It doesn't mean that we do not need to make sure that they understand and everybody understands why the OAS exists and why it is important. I can tell you one thing, if the OAS did not exist, we would have to invent it. We have to invent it because the problems which would be there for everybody would be massively greater. So we should be happy that we have an Organization of American States.
Mr. Secretary, my last question on Venezuela. What is your take on the military built-up in the Caribbean and the possible scenarios towards Venezuela? And a second question, if you will play a mediating role to solve this crisis, what will be your plan to have Edmundo González sworn in as president of Venezuela after having won the elections?
The best success is when you do it silently, behind the scenes, and quietly. And so from that perspective, you will not hear me say too much because we are working on it. With regard to the naval assets of the United States in the region, the reason given for those exercises and those actions, I have not heard any country say, no, that is not good, because it is fighting transnational organized crime and illegal drug trafficking. No country has a problem with that. But every single country in the hemisphere, and also your businesses possibly in some countries, experience the impact of it, the negative impact of transnational organized crime. Is not good for our societies. So nobody complains about that. It is possibly the way it is being done. And here we have to be careful to draw the line precisely. In any action you take legitimately in terms of the goal, we have to observe international law, international humanitarian law. We're speaking about people who have rights as well. So there must be an evidence-based, justifiable reason for an intervention. We don't have enough information about that, but fighting transnational organized crime is not a problem. What it means for the political situation in Venezuela, again, we spoke about this. The situation in Venezuela, they have an issue. That's apart from the transnational organized crime issue. There is a political issue of legitimacy because some countries have requested the information to be presented, which person was elected, legitimately or not. That information is not presented. So some countries have recognized Venezuela's President Maduro, some have not. Difficult for me to speak with one voice if our own membership is very divided. So I'm not going to do that. What I know is that we need to solve a problem, and we are working on that.
You're working on that.
We are in touch with all parties, that I can say, and that's possibly the most I will say.
You mentioned Haiti. It's one of the few countries in our hemisphere that continues to face a profound security and institutional crisis. What is being done, or what should be done to help Haiti?
Even before I was elected, I said, when I get elected, I'll make Haiti a higher priority. And I did. So within 6 weeks after I took office, we had a roadmap developed for Haiti. The problems are increasingly severe. And Haiti has a very challenging environment. There are countries where you have 1 or 2 problems that occur in one space at one time. In Haiti, you have political problems, you have governance issues, you have economic problems, you have social problems, you have security problems, you have environmental problems, just to mention these 5, 6. They are all happening at the same time in one space, and that is quite challenging to be able to resolve. So we have set up in our roadmap, we have developed 5 pillars. The first one is security, especially fighting the gangs. Then the second one is humanitarian assistance, which includes health and education. The third one has to do with political dialogue to get to the next phase of elections. Haiti did not have elections for the past 12, 13 years. It's time that a legitimate governance structure takes place. And the last one is continuously economic rebuilding. So these are 5 pillars now adopted by the United Nations, by CARICOM, by the OES member states, by Haiti. We are in revision 3. This is being carried out now. So the first thing is to work on security. There is a resolution adopted to have a gang suppressing force. The United States is working on that. So a lot of initiatives are taken now, but we are working in terms of security already. We are working in terms of economic rebuilding together with the Inter-American Development Bank. So Haiti requires the fullest attention. I will be visiting Haiti early next week for the first time after a long time of an OES Secretary General to support the political entities. We have governance issues in February. We need to resolve that. We are working on that. I'm convinced that Haiti has a good trajectory, but it needs a solid, stable governance structure first. And when I speak about Haiti, I don't look only at the problems. I look also at the opportunities. You, as private sector, I signed an agreement with SEAL, the Latin American Business Council, to support Haiti by establishing businesses. There are several areas which are free and where there is no security issue. There's a lot of business possible there. There are interesting articles coming out now indicating the potential of Haiti. Good, hardworking people. Nearshoring activities can take place. Investments in terms of IT and cybersecurity is near the United States, within 2 hours flying from the United States. So Haiti is not only a problem, it's full of opportunities also. Very creative people. It will take a while to get back on track. Why we put high priority on Haiti? Simply for one reason. If we do not succeed in Haiti in some form or fashion, I feel that we fail as a hemisphere, because the founding pillars of the OAS are about democracy, human rights, security, and sustainable development. These are all 4 things that need to be achieved in Haiti. So we would fail ourselves if we do not succeed in Haiti.
Moving to integration in the region, recently the 10th Summit of the Americas was postponed. Also, there was a low turnout at the EU-CELAC summit in Colombia. I think 12 out of 60 leaders were present only. So that sends a worrying signal about the region. What is going on? What is the state of multilateralism?
Well, Patricia, we need more unity in the hemisphere. There is no doubt. We need the collectivity of the 34 member states of the OES to work together. We're going to work on that separately. I've been visiting many countries where there were problems to mitigate, to negotiate or mediate as best as possible. Not going to mention the countries, it's not nice, but many countries. We are working now in Honduras to create the best environment for elections. The outcome in Bolivia is promising as well. So we need a better hemisphere where the leaders work closely together. I want to mention here that out of the 34 member states, in 18 of those member states, in 25 and 26, elections were held or will be held. So my view is that by mid next year, third quarter next year, the political landscape will be different and changed. We expect also that when we have a summit of the Americas, which was planned for December in Dominican Republic, that we need to use that opportunity, that collectivity, that presence of leaders to come up with a new plan, a future vision for the OAS and for the hemisphere. I don't think that was going to be possible in December. So our advice was also to the Dominican Republic, maybe reschedule when we have a better time. And the better time is when the political elections have been held. 2, when prime ministers and presidents are not involved in campaigning. 3, when the transition of these new governments have taken place so that you can work with a government which has a mandate. We are experiencing also natural disasters, hurricanes. Just recently, Hurricane Melissa created lots of problems in the Bahamas, in Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica. Those leaders need to stay on the ground. So it wasn't the best time to convene that meeting. So I think it was a wise decision of the Dominican Republic to reschedule to a better moment when the outcome of the summit will be also more productive for a united hemisphere.
Our time is almost up, so I have my last question regarding our natural resources. I mean, we have a region very rich in earth, rare earth, critical minerals. What kind of opportunity you see in our hemisphere to just bring prosperity and development?
Now let me speak about the prosperity agenda, and that really addresses you all here together. We are in the same boat, the private sector, civil society, and the governments. So if we do not work together and go into calmer waters, better waters, more prosperous environment, we will all sink or will be successful and we all will be happy. This is how I see it. We cannot separate ourselves from what we want to achieve. Now, this issue about the future, I think the footprint of Latin America and the Caribbean must be stronger in the world. 123 trillion is the global economy. You know how much of that comes out of South America, Latin America, and the Caribbean? 6.5%. 6.5% only. If you want to create wealth, you need to make sure that you trade with each other in the Americas. You need to invest in each other's countries. You need to know the opportunities. We don't know that. We're not doing that. Figure, the European Union, twice as small as our Americas, trades for almost 70% among each other. That means the wealth stays in the region. Southeast Asia, 55%. Latin America and the Caribbean, 15%. Those are figures, facts. We have an enormous opportunity to make sure that we connect better with our own region. We're not doing that enough. Tourism. We fly to London or to Toronto or to Miami or to Amsterdam because of our historical links. But why don't we fly to Cusco or to Florianopolis in Brazil or other places? Equally nice, but we're not doing that. Copa did a great job in connecting the Americas, I must say. But it has to be done more. It's almost an 800 million people market. I'm leaving the Northern American countries, Canada, Mexico, and the US for a moment outside. There is enormous potential, connectivity, digital connectivity, invest in cutting-edge technology. Do not wait others to create the technology and we only copy. It's time that we take that innovation on our own hand. And there are so many more opportunities in the Americas. That's why I'm looking at the private sector to partner with us. Together with the governments, we can take away the obstacles for more trade, more investments, develop capital markets in the Americas. Not happening currently. Not happening. The wealth goes outside the region or remains in the banks. That's not good use of productive money. So I know there is no time left. I'm pretty disciplined myself, so I want to thank you. Thank everybody for the opportunity. There's a larger message, and bet your life I will make sure you get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.